Hello and welcome to another manga spotlight. This is Tank Chair by Yashiro Manabu, and it is a sci-fi action story, and it is exactly what it claims to be. It is a story about a man who basically has a tank for a wheelchair. So, the premise. Protecting his sister Shizuka from a bullet, the strongest assassin, Nagi Taira, falls into a coma. Against all odds, he regains his consciousness, but only when faced with killing intent. Thus begins a violent journey of recovery, battling the most dangerous foes. So let's just jump right in. So the series starts off with a armored truck being attacked by a bunch of armored apes. Apes carrying guns and stuff like that. And it turns out that the leader is Goro, and he's the boss of a band of robbers. And this old man is talking to this girl. Her name is Shizuka. And he explains that they've attacked our trucks 3 times already. The police aren't able to do anything. Like, they absolutely suck at trying to stop this gang. So I want you to take him out. I want to hire you to assassinate this gorilla. And Shizuka's like, all right, well, how strong is this guy? And the old man explains how strong Goro is. And Goro is pretty damn strong. She's like, all right, in that case, I'll take the job. And she leaves, and we see her rushing through the city streets. So we get a little bit of like how this city world is. It's very kind of Japanese cyberpunkish dystopian. It's not so much like a lot of cool neon signs and everything like that. It's more like almost industrial. And she goes into this building. It's like a hospital, and she sees her brother, Nagi. And Nagi is in a wheelchair, IV in his arm. He's in a vegetative state. He's not aware of his surrounding. He's just kind of dead to the world. And Shizuka is trying to do everything she can to get him to notice her, but nothing works. So she rummages into her backpack, pulls out a knife, and charges at her brother, intending to stab him. And as she's charging at him, like, her killing intent goes and seeps into his head. Like, he grabs the blade just before it's about to pierce his skull. And he's like, good morning, Shizuka. And she says, oh, Nagi, it's time for work. And so we cut to the band of robbers, all the monkeys, and they start getting attacked. And we just see this cool armored-looking dude in this wheelchair, armored wheelchair. And he has this tiny floating robot that looks kind of like a sphere. And Shizuka is basically watching all that's going on. And Nagi just goes around and he starts killing everybody. And as the apes are like trying to kill him, obviously they're feeding him killing intent. And so the more killing intent he gets, the more aware of his surroundings, the more stronger he becomes. He kind of goes back to his old self. And he just slices through all these creatures. And it's badass. So much gore, just creatures being sliced. There's this cool panel of Nagi like spinning in circles as he's swinging his blade. And he just slices this one monkey into a bunch of tiny pieces, and just the way it looks as this monkey's falling apart. I wish I could show the interiors, but I'll probably get a copy strike. I will probably put interiors for my mirror channel, so BitChute and Rumble, you'll be able to see interiors. You won't be able to see it on YouTube or Odyssey because Odyssey is just a mirror of YouTube, and YouTube, well, Japanese publishers tend to copyright strike anything that has even just one piece of interior artwork. I don't know why, but that's how it is. But yeah, just take it from me. Artwork is awesome. The fighting scenes are fantastic. The gore, the blood, the brutalization. And as we are seeing this, we're cutting to Shizuka, who's inside a van, and she just has like a bunch of plushies and stuff around her computer as she's watching all this, and she's just like sipping from a can and eating candy and stuff. So it's like this funny contrast of this adult man in this armored suit, armored wheelchair, brutalizing and dismembering a bunch of monkeys, humanoid monkeys. Meanwhile, we cut to this young girl who is kind of watching all this and enjoying it. And the reason why is because this is rehab for her brother. We get a flashback to what happened. So 3 years ago, her brother was the strongest assassin in town. And as we go through this story, we get more of like the world building between this. Basically, there's this assassin school, or this group of assassins that train like the next generation of assassins. And Nagi was considered the best. He's the best of the best, the greatest assassin ever. And one day he ends up leaving with his sister because his sister was also at that school, and his sister was considered a defect. By defect, I mean that she is not good at being an assassin. She's terrible. And in this school, if you're a defect, you get put down because there's no use for a defect. In fact, in a later chapter, like the president says that the thing that they hate the most is defects because it destroys perfection. It stops things from achieving their perfect state. Like it brings them down. And so Shizuka was going to be killed. Nagi, obviously not wanting to see his sister get murdered, escapes with her and they run away together. And one day, Shizuka gets attacked and Nagi goes to help her. She gets attacked by a bunch of what looks like these sci-fi humanoids with like these dome heads, and they take her hostage. And Nagi goes and he slaughters all of them, but one of them he doesn't fully kill. Like he slices him down and he's dying but not fully dead. And he shoots at Shizuka, but Nagi puts himself in front of Shizuka at the last moment, and the bullet ends up hitting him in his head, and the bullet made a mess of his skull. The doctors tell Shizuka, like, it's a miracle your brother is still alive, and that's why he's in a vegetative state. And Shizuka, she feels bad about it, and she doesn't know what to do. Like, I put my brother, my only family, in I turn him into a vegetable, basically. What am I going to do with this whole situation? And as she's, like, staring at the shadow of her brother, in a sense, a mosquito lands on his cheek and starts sucking out his blood. And she has this interesting line where she's like, now you're an assassin who can't even kill a mosquito. The greatest assassin ever, you can't even kill a mosquito now because of the state he's in. So she swings her hand to kill the mosquito. And there's just, as she's swinging it, she says, die. She's talking to mosquito. But that brief moment of killing intent that she directs at the mosquito is enough to spark Nagi to stop her hand and ask, like, where am I? Like, what's going on? And that's when she discovers that due to Nagi's upbringing, due to his instinct as an assassin, his consciousness only returns when he senses killing intent, specifically killing intent directed at him. So that's when Shizuka comes up with the great idea of, I'm going to rehab my brother by basically going out and taking on a bunch of assassination missions. There are people out there who need assassins for jobs. I'm only going to take assassination jobs that have the target be like someone really powerful and strong, which is why in the beginning she asks the old man, how strong is Garo? And if they're really strong and powerful, she takes the mission, and then she basically wheels her brother out into like the scene of the crime. And then as her brother's about to be attacked, he awakens due to the killing intent. And the stronger the foes, the more like himself he becomes. And her goal is that she hopes that eventually he'll either be able to fight so many powerful foes, or he'll fight one that's so powerful that his consciousness will remain forever. It won't be like, oh, he absorbs some of the killing intent and then he's, awake enough to take out the target, and then a couple of minutes afterwards, before he goes back to being a vegetative state, he's going to fight someone so powerful, or he's going to fight so many powerful enemies, like just back to back to back to back, that eventually the consciousness will stay and he will not relapse into a vegetative state. And that's what this series ends up becoming. It just ends up becoming Shizuka taking requests for her brother to fight a bunch of top-tier assassins. We even get to a point later on where Shizuka realizes that it's not enough for them to take on jobs that have tough opponents, but Shizuka actually goes out and starts putting hits on her own brother. Like, she goes and she starts going through a list of all the top assassins in the world, and she makes deals with them where she's like, hey, I need you to I'm going to put a bounty on this guy and I need you to collect on it. And so she starts putting bounties on her own brother. That way the assassins, like the great assassins of the world, will come to him and try to kill him, and he can get their killing intent that way. So yeah, it's just this really crazy, dysfunctional relationship where this sister is trying to do everything she can to bring her brother back, but the way she has to go about it is pretty brutal and dangerous for both of them. And eventually, the school that's they were from gets wind of this, so they start sending their own assassins to try to bring Nagi back. Not only bring Nagi back, but also kill Shizuka. So we have this whole thing where Shizuka is putting her brother in harm's way to try to bring him back to his former self. Nagi is obviously going out and he's fighting all these tough creatures and humanoids and just spliced entities. And at the same time, we have another assassin group that's some are trying to kill Nagi, some are trying to get him back, and everyone is basically trying to kill Shizuka. And that's where the story kind of just ends up going. That's the direction it heads in. And like I said, like the designs for the enemies are cool. Like Goro is just basically this giant, muscular, humanoid gorilla creature with like a necklace filled with a bunch of human skulls. Eventually, he takes on this, basically like this universe's Deadshot, where it's just like the world's greatest like sniper assassin. He can snipe from so many yards away, and he has like all these like cybernetic implants so he can see far. He comes across this twins, brother and sister. One's like overly muscular that wears a mask that's like pumping drugs into her to make her like stronger and more durable. Meanwhile, the brother has like this it's almost like this like squid Cthulhu thing that he puts over his head and allows him to use like tentacles and stuff, but at the same time it also masks his killing intent. So then you get this whole thing where like, how is Nagi gonna fight someone that can hide their killing intent from him? And I don't want to spoil like more, but yeah, the world is just cool. It's like this post-apocalyptic industrial cyberpunk kind of world. The people that live here are interesting. Like you got your humans, you got your robots, you got your humanoid monkeys, you got everything in between. The villains are just interesting, like the different assassins, their designs, their abilities, and yeah, just even the stuff that Nagi does. Like I said, the name of the manga, Tank Chair, is basically because his wheelchair, when he's out assassinating, he wears like this armored suit, but he also has this armored like battle wheelchair that's basically a tank. And it has like all these contraptions and weapons and stuff to help him, because even when he's conscious, he's still paralyzed from the waist down. So when there's no killing intent directed at him, he's just completely in a vegetative state. When there is killing intent directed at him, he's conscious and he can move everything from his waist up, but nothing from his waist down. So he has to move around in this armored wheelchair. But the armored wheelchair is like able to climb walls and stuff. It's just like crazy, the action scenes that this mangaka is able to pull off with the dude in the wheelchair. I'm kind of just rambling at this point, but there's the basic gist of what Tank Chair is. It's a sister trying to bring her brother back to his normal self by putting him in a bunch of dangerous situations where he's forced to confront powerful enemies that will direct killing intent at him, and he can absorb that killing intent to regain consciousness for a short amount of time. But anyways, there you go. I highly recommend checking out. I'll leave a link to where you can read it down in the description below. But I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you next time. Take care. Later.